When India's most trusted IT giant slashes 12,000 jobs, it's not just a concern limited to a single company, but perhaps sounds the warning bell for the entire IT industry and policymakers at large. Tata Consultancy Services, India's flagship tech titan with over 6 lakh employees globally, has decided to lay off 12,000 of its employees. That's about 2% of its workforce. It is its biggest ever job cut in history. Among those affected will be including mid and senior level management roles. Now, without explicitly blaming artificial intelligence for the job cuts, TCS has said the decision was part of a broader plan to become quote-unquote future ready, involving realignment of the workforce, AI deployment at scale, and new investments in next-gen technologies and markets. And if you look at some of TCS's recent moves, it all comes together. This is clearly not an isolated incident. Points perhaps to larger troubles that have brewing for a while. In the Q1 earnings con call, for example, TCS announced that it will delay wage hikes due to global uncertainties. Earlier in Feb, it reduced the quarterly variable pay for senior employees. It also tightened its bench policy, which now mandates at least 225 days of billing every year for employees, with the permitted bench time being reduced to a maximum of 35 days. The company was also under fire from the Labour Ministry for delaying the onboarding of 600 lateral hires. Now, for an industry that was once the beacon of job security, upward growth and mobility, this is truly a rude awakening and raises serious questions because it's not just about TCS. Is this a transition to AI that we're seeing playing out? Will we see mass firings in other top IT companies as well? Are we going to hear from other bellwethers next? Is the firing of mid and senior level roles indicative of cost saving or something much more? And have Indian IT companies failed to reskill in time for an AI shift? Were these 12,000 people who will be identified and laid off over a year offered the opportunities to upskill if that was what was required? Have large Indian IT companies underinvested in the AI transition? These are some of the questions that we'll be exploring in this show. Kamal Karnath joins me now. He's co-founder of Xfino. Ramani Dati, CFO of Teamly Services, with me on the show. I'm speaking with Harpreet Saluja, Advocate, Bombay High Court, and President of NITES. That's Nascent Information Technology Employees Senate. They've put out a statement also condemning what we've seen. Ashank Desai joins us, Chairman of Mastech and a veteran of the IT industry, really. Mr. Desai, I'm going to start with you just to get your sense of what is happening, how you see TCS's decision. Is it a one-off? Is it cost-cutting? Is this just a start of a tactic shift across the industry?
Tamanna, it's great to see you.
Likewise,
After a long time, not on TV. Of course, we see you very often. But coming back to your question, Tamanna, see, I think one has to look at IT industry over last 30, 40 years, which is where I come from. And some of the inflection points that we have come across are not less. Just after Y2K, when this whole dot-com bust came about, there was this issue of slowdown and job cuts and so on. Then came 2008-9 financial meltdown. We saw an issue there. Then came, of course, COVID, and first reaction was about job cuts and so on. So I think one has to look at the context, is what I would first say that. So I think ascribing everything to AI may not be a fair answer to all this. The issues that IT industry is facing are not just AI. AI, of course, is impacting us, but it is also about the slowdown that are happening because of tariff and related issues in US and some uncertainties globally. So I think industry is trying to realign itself to the coming era of AI plus uncertainties in demand and so on, which have nothing to do with AI, as I said again, and then making those calls. So I think, and IT industry, as I said to you earlier, have passed through some of these three and come out well out.
No, that's...
So I am coming from optimism that yeah, this will happen and we will come out very successfully out like all other challenges we
So,
had.
so, Mr. Desai, I'm sure you're feeling optimistic as someone from the industry. There are a lot of employees right now who don't know if their number is up, who are definitely not feeling optimistic. There are various ways that we need to look at this. And one very important way to look at it is how the IT services industry and the high quality jobs they offer is something aspirational for middle class India. It also leads to an economic virtuous cycle. These are the people who are buying those expensive apartments and paying those EMIs and boosting that kind of consumption in the industry as well. So there's more to this than just what the IT industry is going through. I want to come to Ramani on this, Ramani Dati, and how you see this panning out in terms of jobs. This is not at the lower end. This is mid and senior level. If I add to this, Ms. Dati, on what is happening with beginner salaries in companies like TCS and others, those have not moved over the last decade or so.
Hi, Tamanna. Yes, definitely we are seeing a big shift, especially on the IT services side, because to some extent, IT services also haven't invested in upskilling their employees or even in reinventing themselves and moving up the value chain. So while they have right now come under cost pressure and other challenges with respect to decline in the overall discretionary IT spending and global headwinds. Apart from that, during COVID years, many of the IT services also have expanded their overall capacities. Some excess capacities also have been built. To some extent, that correction has already happened over the last 2 years. But the ones that we are seeing right now is definitely a huge shift. And what we are noticing on the ground is that many non-IT companies are setting up their own internal IT teams. Earlier, they used to outsource a large part of their transformation projects and IT development projects to these IT services companies. But now many of the large organizations are preferring to set up their own internal IT capacity centers. So because of that, even like at TeamLease, in the number of hirings that we are doing right now, majority of the IT hirings that we are doing right now are for the non-IT companies. So it's not a complete bad news for the skilled IT employees because the GCC hirings are good and senior level, mid-level IT hirings in non-tech companies are good.
But ma'am, will these GCC hirings absorb mid and senior level? They seem to be stuck in a dead end over there. Is there space for the manager level?
No, definitely it can't absorb and completely offset the numbers that we are losing on the IT services side. Definitely no, because the volume of hiring that happens in GCC and non-IT is relatively much smaller compared to the IT services hiring. But having said that, for high-skilled jobs and which are the niche technologies, there is definitely demand in GCCs and non-IT sector. If employees can upskill themselves and definitely on these niche skill set, there is a scope.
You know, Kamal, let me come to you on this and how you see this whole situation. TCS in its statement, and we'll pull up bits of that statement, saying that, you know, they're going to offer all kinds of support to the employees, etc. This is part of themselves being future ready. Do you see this as just a start when it comes to bellwether large IT companies? Because this is the biggest one, and if this is about protecting margins, then others will follow suit.
Tamanna, there's a bit of an inevitability around what's happening around us. If you look at the last 3 years per se, the clear tectonic shift has been the number of net additions, global capability centers in India have added. And I think clearly the IT services companies have missed that bus. If you look at the number of people global capability centers added in terms of employees over the last 3 years, between them and the big four, the consulting companies also are in a way loan staffing companies. So they have sort of become competitors to IT services companies. So the last 3 years, the IT services companies added a net number of about 3.5 lakh people, whereas GCCs and consulting companies put together added close to about 5 lakh employees. So collectively, if you see, the IT services companies moved from what you can call as a base of 22 lakh to 25 lakh, number of employees in this time, whereas the GCCs and consulting moved from 16 lakh to 21 lakh. So I think clearly there is a bus that IT services companies have missed by not focusing enough on GCCs. And you can see that they've made a slew of announcements about, exclusive heads they've appointed to focus on GCCs. So if you look at the number of people employed by GCCs today, I could say that almost 50% of them could have been employees that IT services companies could have got. So that's one. Two, if you look at the global scenario, the global product companies, the FANG, as we used to famously call them, the Metas, the Apple, the Amazons, the Microsofts, the Netflix of the world, and the Googles, they were one of the largest customers for the IT services companies. If you look at last two and a half years, they have cut down almost 1 lakh jobs in US. So in a way, that demand also has cut down for the IT services companies. Third, definitely there is a demand issue, tariffs, the wars, all put together has sort of slowed down, and these companies have been talking about discretionary spending coming down. And clearly, you cannot forget the threat of AI, which is looming. Yeah. Though you clearly see the attrition refilling numbers, though it still shows that linearity is still at play, and they've not really cut down too many numbers. But if you look at the first four things that I said, global capability centers, the consulting companies eating their pie, the product companies, the macroeconomic indicators, and AI put together, clearly is putting the pressure on the IT services companies. And like I said, there's a bit of an inevitability that we have to see this situation today.
So I don't know if it's a like for like in terms of the numbers. Yes, TCS in this quarter has said that they will have 40,000 people that they will add on in FY26. But then if you're letting go of mid-level managers, what happens? Just for an additional point here, when we're speaking to experts today, they're saying there was a time when managers in large companies like this would handle 5 to 7 people in their teams. Now, a manager can handle 60 people, 50 to 60 people in a team. So your numbers are going to come down. My question is this really something to blame on TCS? Because Harpreet Saluja, I'm coming to you on this, and I'm reading out the statement that you put out, in which you are saying that this raises ethical and legal questions. At the end of the day, Mr. Saluja, this is a private company. This has a responsibility to shareholders, to its board, and its intent is to make profits. They are within their legal rights to cut jobs if they need to.
See, Tamanna, though it is a private limited company, I do understand, but the laws and labor laws are particularly applicable to private organizations also. They currently falls under the ambit of Industrial Dispute Act and the Shops and Establishment Act also. Particularly, every TCS office across every district might have registration and license under the Shops and Establishment Act from particular Labor Commissioner office. So coming to the legal perspective, yes, the laws are applicable to them. The retrenchment, if these lays off, if the lays off are done without the prior permission of the government, whether it is a private company or a government organization, they need to take a permission under this act from the appropriate labor commissioner office and authorities before initializing these layoffs. Once they permit the layoffs, then the company can go ahead and do the retrenchment. Coming to the human perspective of these it is just not 12,000 is just not a number on Excel sheet or a spreadsheet. These are 12,000 jobs and 12,000 employees who are human capital to this organization. And if we are particularly talking about the mid and senior level management, these people have spent approximately 5 to 10 years or more than 10 years, tenure in this organization. They have given their blood and sweat. They have given the best possible years of their lives to this organization. And what the organization is giving back to them on a Sunday afternoon, you are just sending one email to the employees that we are trying to get future ready and we are just laying you off.
Mr. Saluja, this is not an email to employees. They have not started the process and identifying people.
No, they have sent. They have sent an email yesterday on 27th of July.
Okay.
It is on employees portal. I have gone through that and I can share it with you as well.
So okay, so please share it. But Mr. Saluja, have employees individually started getting notices from TCS? And
no, they are saying that it is spread over for financial year 25-26, but they have already started the process. They have put people on bench and they are pressurizing the employees they're forcing them to resign just to mitigate this retrenchment section from the Industrial Dispute Act. They are pressurizing the employees to resign on their own. They have this is an unethical and illegal practice that we are setting up people on 35 days notice period, that within this 35 period, if you are not able to come out of the bench and if you are not able to find out the appropriate projects, then you will be, terminated from the job. And
Okay.
this is highly unethical. And one point I would like to make clear, see, Tata, just not talking about Tata Consultancy Services, the whole Tata group is a very big conglomerate. So, for every Tata company like Tata Steel or any other Tata organization, there is a separate IT department. So for these 12,000 people, why there is no opportunity of redeployment given to other
Mr.
organization within the
Saluja,
Tata group only?
Mr. Saluja, but this is not a government organization that they have to, redeploy people. They have a choice not to. I think what we're talking about is, and let's be very clear, we are not saying that TCS is not well within its rights. In fact, maybe a lot of IT analysts we talk to are saying this is great for those who hold the stock, because this means the balance sheet will be healthier. But there's a very real human cost as well. I'm trying to understand from the jobs purview. And let me come back to you, Ms. Dati, and a reaction, if you can, give to some of the points that Mr. Saluja made. The way this has been done, do you think there's a requirement to understand if there were enough attempts at reskilling? Because clearly, a company of the size of TCS will have to continue to hire people with talent. We've heard that again and again. Specific talent will be required. Should there not be an attempt at least to reskill those who are existing within the organization and see if they make the cut?
So Tamanna, to our understanding, definitely attempts have been made to upskill their existing employee base. Otherwise, this number would be much larger. So right now we are only talking about 10 to 12,000 numbers. So if not for the internal L&D programs conducted by these large IT services, the number can be much larger. Also, I want to highlight the fact that almost after 6 to 7 quarters in a row, this is the first quarter where we are seeing green shoots in terms of new hirings being done for IT services companies. So this includes TCS, Wipro, and other large IT services companies. So that means they also have started hiring new talent, definitely at mid and not much at senior level, but definitely at entry and mid level. And to accommodate this cost, maybe they have to take some amount of restructuring in existing base. I completely understand the implications that it will have on the employee side, but in terms of organization, to some extent, they have made efforts in upskilling their talent base, and now they also have started hiring new employees.
In terms of the demand that you're seeing for talent within IT companies, has the requirement changed? Ms. Dati, has it changed? What does this mean for those who are right now preparing themselves for these jobs?
No, in terms of hiring, the numbers are much lower what it used to be 2 years before, before this overall IT headwinds. The numbers are still very small, but it's a good recovery because, as I said, almost after 6, 7 quarters, we have started seeing some green shoots. And in terms of skill set, right now, they're largely at higher end skill set and mainly areas like cloud security, AI, ML related jobs, and niche technologies, new age technologies is where we are seeing jobs. The traditional coding and DevOps, we are not seeing that many new open positions at this stage.
So then my question to you, Kamal, is what happens to all of those coders who are training out there? How does this work out? And my question there for Kamal Karant, how does this work out? And going forward in absolute terms, will companies just need much, much fewer people to do the same work in terms of IT companies?
Maybe the indicator of most of the companies that we speak to is that we might need lesser workers going forward. But when you look at the open jobs, Tamanna, out there, we're looking at a steady number of IT open jobs. And specifically, if you look at the last 6 months, we have seen a kind of a stagnation of open jobs. In fact, what used to be almost 122,000 tech jobs that was open in, let's say, in Jan, the June numbers are at about 1 lakh numbers. So you can clearly see that, it is sort of coming down. So that's one part of it. But you still, on the positive side, if you see, you can still say there are 1 lakh open jobs in the tech sector. 65% of them are from IT services companies. So I think if you look at the overall job openings out there, clearly there is a space for people who are getting, let's say, retrenched for an opening out there. But there again, if you look at the mid to senior level, the IT services industry, especially the top six, if you look at the top six of, let's say, the Infi, TCS, LTI, TechM, and HCL kind of companies, collectively have a very large number of people who are above 15 years experience and above. Now, just looking at the numbers as you're speaking, so the 10 years and above numbers are in the range of almost 5 to 6 lakh people. So there is a fair number of people whom you can say are experienced and mid to senior level, and that could be an area of concern. And that many jobs commensurate to their experience and maybe skill set may not be available in the market, and that could be a concern. As far as people who are younger, the number of job openings for them, between the 4 to 10 years experience range is still higher in the market. It's a challenge for freshers, people who are studying computer science, especially, if you look at 2.5 lakh engineers are passing out with computer science qualification out of the 8 lakh engineers who are passing out. So there is a bit of a worry because the IT industry last year absorbed about 1 lakh of freshers. Looks like the numbers could be a little less than last year. Yes, a bit of a worry if you ask me.
And what are the fees these people are paying to get those qualifications? Those computer science courses are not closing overnight. They're going on churning out more engineers who may not be required in that large a number. Mr. Ashank Desai, you started by striking an optimistic note on what happens to the industry. What happens to the workforce of this industry, the lifeblood of this industry? I think you're on mute, sir.
I'm sorry. Let me answer you the question about keeping employee ready for tomorrow's technology. All of us have trained 70-80% of our people in AI, cybersecurity, and cloud areas. So it is not that we have not made everybody ready. We spend tremendous amount of time, money, and effort as an industry compared to any other industry in terms of training people, because that's the cost of doing business in any case. And that happens. When that happens, please also realize that there are certain persons who may not able to cope up with some of these changes. So one has to look at the overall workforce that we have and how many people can cope with the changes, etc., etc. So that's one point. Coming back to your question on the scales, see, I think this AI issue has an impact is one part. Do you want to discuss that, or do you want to discuss the uncertainty because of demand issues in the economy?
I want to discuss the people. AI issue is now blue sky, right? You have maybe some people saying it's not AI, maybe it's headwinds, maybe it's Trump's fault, maybe it's tariffs. What about the people, the lifeblood? You are churning out people for jobs that are no longer existing or do not matter as much to the largest company in this space. Isn't that a red flag, an alarm bell, Mr. Desai?
See, again, as I said, I take a very long-term view of all of this.
Okay.
Last 30 years, 40 years, there has been a constant churn of skills required in the industry. I come from area where we were doing punch card for doing programming. I'll not go there. But the point I'm making is this change in the skills required is nothing new. We continuously train people all the time. There are some people who do not get trained so fast, they remain behind, but they continue in the industry or they may go to some other industry, so on and so forth. So I'm saying what is happening is not something catastrophically new. Yes, we have to be cautiously looking at the impact of all these changes, and we are looking at it, A, by training our people so that they are ready for tomorrow. 2, restructuring ourselves to meet the structure of our whole industry so that we meet the customer demand. Please remember, we serve all 500 Fortune companies as an industry, FTSE industry, so on and so forth. We need to meet their demands.
No, of course. Of course, you need to meet customer demands, shareholders, run the company completely. Just a quick word from Mr. Saluja. You've heard all of the commentary. This is changing times. It's going to happen, Mr. Saluja. There's no point blaming the company for what is inevitable.
There is a strict need of stringent labor laws, I believe, because if we are talking about numbers and profitability of the organization, I do personally understand that they have opened a company to make profits only. But the thing over here is, if you are making profits and in May only, if your CEO salary is going and it is getting raised by 4.8% or close to 5%, you're taking 26 crores of rupees per year as your remuneration, then why, when it comes to increasing the profits, the employees in the mid-level management or the junior level, they are taking the hit of this? Why only the layoff is the only possible solution that is visible to the organizations when it comes to cost cutting? See, we need to have a human perspective also to it. We need to add some sort of human perspective that these are the employees who build the organizations. These are the employees
No
who
doubt, there is
stand by
no
the
doubt a
organization.
huge, there is no doubt a huge human perspective. But maybe this is just a starting of a problem which needs a comprehensive solution.
Absolutely.
Because like I said, this has a ripple effect, right? These are the jobs that provide salaries to boost an economy. And then if that dries up, then where are we going from here? I'm completely out of time. I will have to thank all of you for joining us on this special edition. We'll continue to track the story very closely right here on NDTV Profit. There's a stock impact. It means a lot to investors, workers, companies. Are mid-cap IT companies taking the boost ahead, and have they planned better? All of these questions will come up. Another question is also that these companies, the large IT companies, are very cash rich. They provide great dividends to their shareholders. Should some of that have been invested in better AI preparation? All of these questions will linger for many, many days to come. That's all the time we have. We'll take a very short break. We're back with all the latest business news on the other side.